So my all-time favorite Disney movie, and it will always be my all-time favorite Disney movie, is The Hunchback of Notre Dame. Ever since I was a little girl, my two favorite Disney films were Beauty and the Beast, of course, and then Hunchback of Notre Dame. The reason why, as a little girl, that I really enjoyed Hunchback of Notre Dame, and when I was little at the time, I didn't really understand why I did. I just know that I really enjoyed Esmeralda. I really enjoyed the colors that she wore, the purples, the blues, the red and purple iconic dress that she wears. Just her tambourine, her sidekick Jolly. I love that little goat. I don't know what it was about Esmeralda that piqued my interest as a little girl, but I think because she was just this outsider and that she was this dancer. She was like entertainment, and that's how I like to see myself in my life. Is I like to entertain people, just not maybe like dancing in the streets, but I definitely love entertaining. I love people and I love making them laugh, and I like to make jokes, and I love to sing, and I like to dance as well. But I think as a little girl, the gargoyles, I really loved the gargoyles. I don't know why, but them and Jolly were kind of the most like real characters, because as a kid I've always seen and I always wanted to know like if statues ever came to life. And with Hunchback, it's like the statues like in Notre Dame came to life. And so it was really cool as a kid to see some of that imagination that I already had come to life. Now, as I've gotten older, and of course I've seen the movie so many times now, especially now that I'm older, I understand so much more, and I have a deeper appreciation so much for the film, because one, the soundtrack is to die for. I mean, the intro of The Hunchback of Notre Dame, the chorus, the music, just everything put together, and the story that Clopin tells to kind of give you the idea of what you're about to watch and what you're about to see, and kind of the riddle he gives you at the very beginning. It makes you process and think before you know what's about to happen in the film. And of course, Clopin's famous, like, I don't know if anybody notices this, but Clopin reaches this really, really, really high note in the very first song of The Hunchback of Notre Dame. I mean, I don't think I've ever heard a guy belt a note that high before. I probably have, but in a Disney film, I have never heard a guy belt a high note that high for a male range. I've never heard of it. And so I have a much deeper appreciation for that, of course. And it's kind of like a hidden gem. Like you really have to listen for it. Another things that are beautiful about the film is it's a fairy tale, but it's also realistic. It's more raw. I think you see a lot of we've seen in our history all the controversies with the Catholic Church, but you see that in the film, and you see how they want to get rid of all of the corruption and the evil still in this world. And in this film, it's more focused on the gypsies, the heresies that they bring to Paris. She's coming into Paris, and gypsies being a normal thing, it's such a real topic, and it, especially in the Renaissance area, it was such a surreal thing of like the church was so well recognized, and it was so important back then that if you didn't follow the church, or if you didn't know the ways of life and how to go about living your life in the ways of the church to be pleased, that was definitely an eye-opener. Especially my favorite part in the entire film is when Quasimodo, the hunchback, he comes down from his tower of the church. He's the bell ringer, so he comes down from the bell tower, and basically he goes to the Feast of Fools, which is a yearly thing, almost like April Fools, but it's just kind of like a bigger event where everything is topsy-turvy, everything is backwards, everything is upside down. And he gets pulled into this ugly mask contest while he's down there into the city, and he gets put on display for the entire town to see. And of course the church was there, which the church is put into one person, which is Frollo. Put Quasimodo in the bell tower, punishes Quasimodo by having his soldiers tie him down to a turning table, and the crowd just ends up throwing tomatoes at him and just like garbage at him. And then the most iconic part of the film is when Esmeralda, you hear this angelic sound in the background too, which is another thing of a hidden gem of all the beautiful soundtracks in this film. It's so beautiful. You could hear the chorus, you could hear the choir, you could hear the high notes and the angelic feel when she walks up to Quasimodo. And when she walks up to Quasimodo, the first thing she does is she says, "Don't fear." Basically, "I'm your friend, I'm here to help you." And takes her scarf that's out of her, she takes out her scarf and she starts wiping his face of all the garbage that was all over his face. And she was showing him kindness, and she was showing him that no matter how distorted you look, no matter how how much of an outcast you are, no matter how much you don't fit into our quote-unquote ideas of society, you should still be treated with respect. You should still be treated with love. In that moment where she's loving him and she's treating him like everybody else, it's that divine appointment of, wow, like, I don't think I've ever seen in a Disney film, especially when it comes to, because you see a lot of Disney films where for romance, you see them sacrifice everything for romance. But this wasn't romance. This was a stranger that she was willing to put herself on the line to show kindness and love. An underrated Disney film that I think needs a little bit more attention. And I think if adults really watched the film, they would realize of how powerful of a message that one scene has on the entire film. Even with her humor side. Afterwards, Frollo's like, grab Esmeralda, and she's like, ugh, all these soldiers, there's how many of you? There's like 10 of you, and what of me? What's a poor girl going to do? And she grabs her handkerchief and blows in it and disappears. And of course Frollo's like, oh, that's witchcraft. And starts to seize her and tries to, for the rest of the entire film, he tries to take her and to imprisonate her. Basically two choices. You either die by the flame, you become his. His lust became such a fire, that like burned down the entire village in order to find her, in order to capture her and put her at the stake, to burn her. Everything in that film is what makes it beautiful. And I think it's also kind of what makes it underrated, is because people don't see those hidden gems. It's not that they don't mean to not find meaning, I just don't think they really think about how deep of a message is to reach out to somebody in kindness, to love that person even though that person may not look like you. Incredible. It's a phenomenal movie. It's a phenomenal story. People have taken the details of the windows. When you go into a Catholic church, you see how gorgeous these like Gothic, medieval times Gothic windows are. There's details, each and every glass piece to make it into one beautiful masterpiece. And you can even see that as a cartoon, that it took them a ton of detail to put those into the film. It took a ton of time to get the right colors, to get the right pieces, to make it look a certain way. They wanted to make it so authentic. The Hunchback, all the detail poured into it, all the music poured into it, all of the love and the time and the message, and how it's so historically accurate to how the Catholic Church would treat people back in the Renaissance day. And it's just a movie, and I'm repeating myself, but like, I cannot get it across to people that it is the most beautiful Disney film I will ever say. Like, that is the most underrated Disney film on the planet, and yet it is the most detailed, and it is a phenomenal film that anybody, I feel like all your children and even adults, like, I don't care how old you are, if you could sit down, and some people aren't musical people, and so coming to life gargoyles of the imagination coming to life, but even if as an adult you take the time to sit down and watch this film again, and I really believe if people did that, I don't think it would be underrated. I think if more people really paid attention to the details, I feel like there would be a lot more people like me and the Hunchback that people, they don't do these days, and they overlook and they overthink, and they're just like, oh, good for that person for sticking up for that person. I applaud you, but I don't think I could do it. And I think it gives us more urgency to be more kind. But that is why Hunchback is my all-time #1 favorite film of all time, especially in the Disney industry. I have so many favorite Disney films that I grew up watching from the very beginning of, oh man, I think the first, I'm pretty sure I watched The Song of the South when I was really young. I'm pretty sure I watched Old Yeller. A lot of people don't know about Old Yeller. It's also a Disney film, the original Pete's Dragon. But anyways, I'm gonna end this video. So thank you for watching. Thank you for taking the time to listen to me and to hear what I have to say regarding my passion for Disney and my passion for my favorite film. If you want